This is the Marriage Podcast, and I'm your host, Alexandra Stockwell. I'm a physician turned relationship and intimacy expert, and I specialize in showing couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships. I myself have been married for 25 years. My husband and I have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing relationship. If you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place because I will show you how. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, this is Alexandra, and I'm so excited to be speaking with my guests. I've never actually had a conversation with the two of them together, and yet who they are has influenced me deeply. My guests are Kristy Arnett and Andrew Moreno. And actually, I think my first introduction to you, Kristy, was listening to a podcast interview you did, which completely changed my life. And I'll actually put a link to it in the show notes. But in it, you tell your story and how you took 100% responsibility for the quality of your marriage. And that just opened the gates to all kinds of amazing things. You and I, Kristy, have had all kinds of conversations. You've interviewed me. We were partnered in a very intimate book writing project over the weekend. I watch all of your YouTube videos, and so I feel like I know your life really well. And by association, I know you, Andrew, as well. You're both poker players, personal growth devotees, just such amazing people. And I would love to just start with a warm welcome and have the two of you share who you are, about your relationship and your businesses in your own words.
Well, thank you for the warm introduction. I feel very welcome to be here, and I know Kristy and I are very passionate about what we're going to be speaking about today. So it's something that we've very much been looking forward to. Yeah. So real briefly about me, I'm 37 years old. I've been married to Kristy for 13 years. We've been together for 15.
So close.
So close. Yeah. Sometimes I get the
9 years married, but we've been together for almost 16.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, one of the reasons this is so funny is you're not a poet, Andrew. You're a poker player who is very analytical and mathematical. So there's something really sweet in hearing how you don't relate to the numbers with quite the same way when it comes to your relationship.
It's really one of those things though, as far as like we've been together so long that it almost feels like portions of our relationship were like someone else, like when we just met when we were so young. It's like we were just little kids, little babies, and now, we're kind of all grown up.
Yeah, it's when I wrote the short description of like us together, it was funny trying to write it because I mean, I'm 35 now and we've been together for almost like half my life. And our first date was he took me to an underground poker game. And
Will you explain what's an underground poker game? I'm sure anyone listening knows what each of those words means, but like my imagination is prohibition or something, like a poker game that wasn't supposed to happen.
totally, it was definitely not supposed to be happening. And when when we met, we met under the premise was like, I want to play poker with you guys. And he was like, sure, I'll take you to play. So we weren't really sure if it was a first date or if it was like he's just going to be my poker friend. Okay, he was sure. There were a bunch of places that we could have played, but I wanted to go to the underground game. And he was kind of like, well, are you sure you want to go there? Because it's not, there's some seedy characters there, right?
Yeah, you're basically looking at kind of like regulated versus unregulated, which is kind of what you were alluding to with prohibition. And so when you look at regulated, you have, what you would experience in a casino with set rules and security cameras and things in place in case things go wrong. And then, in the underground games, you have lots of drinking. Sometimes you have other elements like drugs, or they can be dangerous in some parts. People can lose money and decide they don't want to pay, which doesn't happen. So there's a lot of, things that you want to kind of steer clear of in the underground games. But we were so young, we kind of didn't realize like a lot of the dangers
Oh,
that were
so
present.
naive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if I thought about my little sisters going to a place like that, I would have freaked out. But to me, I was like, oh, this is just exciting. And so, yeah, the games were in the back rooms of bars. They were in, shut down businesses or someone's basement. And we just kind of I fell in love with poker and him at the same time. He was already a professional poker player, but he really showed me how to be a good player and also all the things that poker can teach you about life. Like one of the first lessons he ever taught me was that fortune favors the bold. The way that we take risks matters in terms of like how successful we can be and how much we can win and how bold we can be. Just it matters in terms of like also how much you learn. And I just really admired that. And so like when I turned 21, we moved to Las Vegas. And it's interesting because when we talk about like these sections of our lives, like what he was mentioning, they do feel like different people. Like then we had the section of our life where after we got married, things really were, on the rocks and we almost got a divorce. And then to this chapter that we're in right now, which is like better than our marriage could have ever been or I could have ever imagined. So I really definitely agree with you. Like it's like it feels so like such an evolution.
I remember speaking with someone who had been married for, I think, 50 years when she told me this, that she considered a successful marriage to be married to lots of different people without getting a divorce.
I like that.
And I feel like the two of you are talking about it in those terms just in the time you've been together, a lot less than 50, but plenty of time for growth and evolution, which actually brings me to the question that I like to ask all of my guests, because I believe that relationships are the ultimate context for personal growth. And I'd love to hear from each of you, what is something you've learned about yourself as a result of being in relationship and in a marriage with one another?
That's a great question. Does anything come right to mind for you?
Well, actually, I was just writing about this one story, so I'll share it quickly, and then if unless you have something.
No, yeah, I can go ahead.
Okay, so we just moved into a new house or a house because we want to prepare this for creating a family, so it's bigger, so we have lots of furniture to get. And I realized in this buying of pieces of furniture how different we are and how similar we are to our own parents. Because as we go shopping, we're like, we look at things and I'm automatically like, how much does it cost? Is it practical? Does it look good? Is it stylish? Like, what would people think? And mostly, how much does it cost? And as Andrew shops, he's like just moving around the space, like touching things, sitting in them, and thinking like, how many people can we fit on this piece of furniture? What will they have fun doing it? And so filling this house, I have just really become so much aware of how much he's taught me to, of course, like he appreciates how pragmatic I am and analytical and practical, but he's also really taught me how to feel and ask myself, am I taking this action or buying this piece of furniture because I'm afraid of something bad happening or whatever? Or am I taking this action or buying this piece of furniture because I'm inspired to or I really love it? And I think I've really come a long way. At the beginning of our relationship, he told me like I didn't even know how to like touch lovingly. It just wasn't something that I was taught, being brought up with my mother, who was like a very strict tiger mom, maybe a pat on the back, but never any hugs. So that's something that I am so grateful that he's taught me because it's brought so much more depth and light and love into my life and so much more joy. Like everything doesn't have to be so practical and like on clearance or something. Not that buying things on clearance is wrong. It's just there can be other factors. Yeah.
It's not the only option. That is so beautiful. What about you, Andrew? What have you learned about yourself?
One thing I've learned about myself is that I think people are motivated by different things. I think some people are motivated, for example, when they're young by their parents, and I want to be just like my dad in this way, or just like my mom in this way. And you can also be motivated by, I don't ever want to be like that because of what you've experienced. And I think one of the things that I experienced when I was young, very young, before my parents got divorced, was a lot of the arguing and fighting. And I knew from a very early age that I never wanted that. And so as I grew up, and as Kristy and I have grown up in our relationship together, I think a lot about, I've had a very clear picture of what my relationship should look like to me, or what I want it to look like. And that was shaped from the time I was young. And I knew that I wanted a relationship where we could rely on each other, and that I would lead by example by doing things without any expectations. So I was basically just going around trying to create the relationship that I wanted by being exactly that. And I know it sounds cliche, but it works so great. And it's been so great for us because we both give so freely that I don't know if either of us feels like one is giving. We're kind of like in this like fluid motion of like giving and receiving. And one thing I also have learned to do a lot that I think is very, very important is to say thank you. I mean, I say thank you 20, 30 times a day to Kristy. Like if she picks up a fork that I dropped on the ground, it doesn't matter. And I think we kind of create that culture of, I'm taking care of you and I'm grateful for you taking care of me. And we just live in that. And I think for me, growing into that has been very beneficial and very powerful for our relationship.
Thank you so much. Both of you are just oozing hard-won wisdom in the most delicious way. And I'm so, so excited. I'm definitely going to have you back to continue the conversation. And for today, I just want to thank you so much for what you have offered. And for any of our listeners who are just lit up hearing the way the two of you talk about growth and risk and connection, how can our listeners find you?
Well, right now, the thing that I'm working on the most is creating videos on my new YouTube channel, which you can search and find by just searching for Kristy Arnett Moreno. And that's probably the best way to find me, by searching Kristy Arnett Moreno in any social media. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'm gonna pop into Kristy's media, so I'll be on there as well. And I have my Instagram at amo for show, which I post a lot of poker stuff and philosophical things, and I can be followed on there. But mostly, I'll be supporting her. And
By post a lot, that means he posts not enough.
yeah,
He needs to post more. You're so wise, but you're always like, I just admire him so much, and I just think he's like the coolest person because he like has all the wisdom. And obviously you can hear it, but he like never posts. So it's up to me, guys. So follow me, and I'll make I'll share his wisdom on my stuff.
I'll be on there.
Okay, well, we'll have all those links in the show notes, and let's be Team Kristy and respond to what Andrew posts and provide some positive feedback and see if that has an impact.
Post more. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Marriage Podcast. Please rate and review the show on iTunes. It really makes a difference. And if you have a question or a comment, reach out to me via my website at alexandrastockwell.com.